well. We'll be here. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, do you have time for one more?
Yes.
Hi. Okay.
Are you from where?
My name is Tanesha Laverne. I'm with blackinamerica.com.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Bonjour,
I'm gonna
madame.
do a drop. Good afternoon. This is Tanesha Laverne Grant. I am live at the United Nations with filmmaker Jan Artus Bertrand, who will be screening this evening Human as the world premiere for what is the 70th anniversary of the UN General Assembly. So talk to me a little bit about the inspiration for this film, Human. I mean, where did it start with you?
How it start? It start when I was doing, it's a long story, but I think I'm an ecologist in the beginning. I'm photographing for a long time, the deforestation, the ice melting and everything. And I think I arrived a little bit to the end of this kind of documentary, and I want to speak to the heart of the people. Okay. I think we need more humanity on our life. When I was looking the refugee last week coming in Europe, in Berlin, and I can see these German ladies with a fence says welcome, I think this lady was putting his humanity above all, above his sphere, above his, the economic crisis. I think sometimes we have to be human. And on this movie we have a small black guy living in Kinshasa, 12 years old, is alone, is very poor. And we ask him, what is the sense of life? And the guy says, a sense of life, he says, I must have a mission on the planet. I'm sure I have a mission. I'm sure God have a mission for me, and I have to find it. And this, what he says, is a lesson, Everybody, I think us, we have to think also what is our mission on the planet, how we can improve the world around us. This movie is a little bit about that. It's about to live with your eyes open, look to what is going on around us, and how we can change, how we can try to do something.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Bertrand. With Black...
Okay. I'm sorry I have to see the people now.
Okay. With Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement that is happening here in the United States, in your travels, in your development of this film, when you're out of the country, have you seen a show of solidarity for men and women of other countries showing support for the Black Lives Matter movement here in the United States?
I don't see you like a black. I see you like a human. Okay. And you are my sister. That's all.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward.
Sister.
Mwah. Mwah. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Nice
Bye-bye.
to meet you.
Thank you. Out. A couple more? Yeah. A little bit more time. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. This is Tanesha Laverne Grant, and I have, first of all, your reputation precedes itself.
Oh, does it? I thought you were
Yes.
going to say I don't know who you are. What's
No,
your name?
no. She's a fellow broadcaster, English broadcaster. Talk to me a little bit about what humanist means to you.
What, Human the film? Or
Humanist.
Humanism?
Since the film is about human, to get in touch with thoughts, ideas, or what it means to be human, sensitivity. So when you think about your life, the human experience, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think the thing about humanism and humanity being as important as it is at the moment is 1,000 years ago, you wouldn't have asked anybody that question. 1,000 years ago, we were all so busy being human. We were so busy fulfilling our purpose and our point that there was no need to ask that question. I think we have been removed so far away from what we were physically, emotionally, and mentally designed to do.
Wow.
That it's incredibly important for us to try and redefine what humanity means.
I can accept that.
Oh, good.
So, in seeing the film tonight, what is something that you think you may want to see? You know, what do you think the director is trying to show us and tell us with this film?
I think what he's trying to do, I haven't seen it yet, but from everything I've read and everything I've heard, I think what he's trying to do is to show without judgment, to allow polar opposites to state their case and say where they're coming from and why they're doing it and how it feels to be who they are, without saying that's wrong and that's right.
Gotcha. Well, I want to talk to you post-film.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll find you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. How are you, Mr. Curtis?
I'm good, thank you.
Nice to meet you. Can we come a little closer? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Tanesha Laverne Grant. I'm live at the United Nations with Mr. Richard Curtis.
Are we live?
We are going to be live, yes, yes. With Mr. Richard Curtis, who has brought us films such as Four Weddings and a Funeral in Notting Hill. For those of you who may not know, I'm letting you know now. So talk to me a little bit about tonight's film, Human, that's being screened tonight in such a wonderful space, and what it means. What does humanness mean to you?
It is an amazing film because it's been filmed, I think, in 65 countries, and they did a huge number of interviews, and they have extracted from those interviews raw, simple truth. So pretty well every line in the film is as good as the best line in any film of mine. It's a really amazing study.
Wow. So looking at it, have you seen it yet?
I saw a slightly earlier version of it, on a tiny screen in a very hot little room.
Okay, so when you're looking at a film, that's been shot, interviewing people, so many backgrounds, so many different languages, the aesthetic of this film, what is the one thing that sticks out to you most about it?
Well, it's got these two extraordinary aesthetics. It's an unbelievably brave choice. So there are these amazing slow motion, huge, wide photographs, moving photographs of the planet we live on, and then these completely perfect, tight, single shots of individual humans talking.
Wow.
So it's humans, it's people and planet, people and the planet on which we live.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Our existence.
Yeah.
Working in tandem, living together, making this existence work.
And how life is too hard for some people, and how some people can extract joy from hard situations, and how truth is complicated, and how being human is complicated. I mean, it's a film of amazing compassion and breadth and understanding.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Hill. All the best to you.
Thank you very much indeed.
I'm French, but I will do this.
Okay, you'll be fine. Good evening, this is Tanesha Laverne Grant, and we are live at the United Nations post-reception for the film Human, one of the greatest humanitarian films I have honestly seen, and I'm not just saying that. I have pulled this lady, what's your name, madam?
Charlotte.
Charlotte?
Yes.
Charlotte, where are you from, Charlotte?
Well, I'm half French, half Dominican.
Talk to me about the film Human tonight. What was the first thing that went through your mind when the first image popped on the screen for you?
Well, honestly, Human, as the movie states, it's about human beings on a simple scale and on a great scale. And that's what you see amazingly with Jan, is that you see the world from the sky. And we're those little human beings going around there, but then you see the world face to face through someone else. And that's the most amazing experience I had in a long time. So it was
Captured that quite well. What was one of the stories that stuck out to you most in terms of something that kind of made you think twice about the way you're navigating your own humanness?
Well, that's a great question. Honestly, I was touched by the president of Uruguay. that spoke. And when you see the man on the screen, you think it's a peasant actually talking. You don't know he's the president of Uruguay. And the way he talks about life and the simplicity of it, the simplicity of our existence, that really was a moving moment for me, to think that someone so important could think in such a simple, humanist, down to the point way. It was amazing.
And something that made you like leap out of your seat, jump for joy. I mean, there were so many layers to this film, so many emotions.
Yeah. Honestly, a moment that made me really cry was a dad talking about his son. And he was talking about the fact that he always wished to have a son, and he had a handicapped son. But he didn't see a problem in that, because he saw it like a way to show to his son the importance of life and of being useful no matter who you are and what your condition is.
Absolutely. So how did you hear about the film Human?
Well, I actually helped to film the movie because it's a coincidence. I was working for an NGO in New York, and I was the one that called Jan to have an interview with him on the phone because I'm French. And the idea came along for him to come to film in the Dominican Republic in Haiti. And I was working for the president of the Dominican Republic at that time, who was a huge fan of Yann Arthus Bertrand. And he opened the door for him to come to us. And I'm very proud that in the film you have images of Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
Wow. Like, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have with me Miss Larizia Laveau, who just screened this amazing film, Human, by famed photographer and filmmaker Yann Arthus Bertrand. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts about the film and what major moment in the film that kind of struck you and hit you to your core.
Oh, wow, that's a big question. We've been talking a lot about the different moments, and I've been realizing that this is going to stay with me a very long time. There were so many moments that struck me, whether it was something that was humorous or something that wanted to make me cry. I think one of the things, at least in the beginning, the way it started, and maybe because of who I am, was the message of love and what love meant to people, and that shone throughout the film, whether it was talking specifically about love or about the woman who was saying about the SS officer who took her from her mother. That is maybe what stayed with me. And then, of course, the Hispanic gentleman, and I don't remember what country he was from, which was another thing that was great. I didn't necessarily know the country, and so it didn't matter.
So how did you hear about this film?
Through my husband and his connection with the French consulate.
Okay. So was it everything you expected? I mean, did you come into this movie expecting to be blown away emotionally?
I didn't have expectations. I was looking forward to it. I read a little bit about it, and it was something that was interesting, and I didn't know what to expect. So maybe that was better because I was blown away. And 2 hours in, I realized, okay, yes, it's long, but I'm still engaged. I'm still interested. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what was one of those moments during the film that just kind of made you want to just leap for joy, or just kind of made butterflies go off for you in terms of happiness?
There were so many. That's a tough question.
One that you could think of.
Well, I guess the one that made me laugh the most, and certainly this is a bit risque, but it was the gentleman who was talking about sex, who was saying, that was the laugh out loud moment, because he was so brutally honest about it.
So what's next in terms of individual humanitarian efforts that you do, on a regular basis? Like, how do you go out into the world and navigate kindness and humanness, and remind all of us who are living in this world, in this shared space, that we have to get along and we have to remember that we are exactly that, humans?
I've always been that person, and thanks to my upbringing, thanks to my family, thanks to where I'm from, and it's something that I feel strongly about, and I'm blessed to be that person and to come from that family and to have those friends who are like-minded. So it's just to keep living my life that way.
Maintaining your philosophy of kindness. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. There you have it, testimonials from moviegoers who just had the opportunity to view Human, directed by famed French photographer and filmmaker Yann Arthus-Bertrand. Live at the United Nations, Tanesha Laverne Grant. Good evening, I'm Tanesha Laverne Grant. We are live at the United Nations post-screening celebration of the film Human, directed by famed French photographer and filmmaker Yann Arthus-Bertrand. I'm with Mr. Vincent Coil, who's a lovely actor. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on the film. What was the first thing that resonated with you when that first picture came through?
Oh my Lord, I believe that tonight, after watching it in the first, was here now begins the big conversation that we have to have around the world about reconciling and reconciliation. And for me, that this was the beginning of that conversation tonight. And the cinematographics of Jan is amazing. And just to hear ordinary people talk about their lives in an open and honest way was just breathtaking.
Is there one specific story that stuck out to you?
There was one lady, an elderly black lady, and she says, I would like someone to just swap places with me. Just come to this place, I'll take your place, and you take mine. And that sort of summed it up in many, many ways. And she for me, was very, very special lady.
What about a moment that brought an enormous level of joy to you? You're sitting in the theater, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm having a feel-good moment. What was that moment like?
I think it was during some of the filming, the colors. And we saw the people come across the desert with their cattle and their horses, and the way they were following that line, obviously that they were following for many, many centuries. And I thought, this is humanity. This is how it all began, how the great tracks across the world began, and that was a very, very joyful moment, I believe.
So how did you hear about this film?
Well, I'm involved in international reconciliation, and I also was involved with the making of the film in Ireland. So I had a part to play in it somewhere. So they got in touch with me, let me know what was happening here, and I just had to be here.
What's the one idea or concept that you want people to walk away with when they view this film? For those who have not seen this film, like, what is their wish for you when they do have an opportunity to see it?
It's the need that we all have to reconcile with ourselves personally and with each other in couples, then within families. Because it's in the reconciliation, I believe, the healing and the way forward should be.
Thank you so much for your time, Vincent. It's a pleasure meeting you. I will be in touch. Thank you.
Oh, my name is Danny.
Danny, and your last name?
Hernandez.
Danny Hernandez.
With an H. How do I look?
I'm with Mr. Danny Hernandez, who's just had the opportunity to view the most beautiful humanitarian film I have ever seen, Human, directed by famed French photographer and filmmaker Yann Arthus-Bertrand. Talk to me a little bit about the film and what you thought about the overall aesthetic of the project.
Well, I'd have to say it makes you really look at this world in a broader perspective. You realize that there are many worlds out there, not just one, not just your own, but quite a collective. And I think the moment you start to look through everyone else's world, everyone else's island, everyone else's tribe, everyone else's country, and everyone else's home, and their mode of life, their way of living, their way of survival, it really makes you not feel small like an ant in that perspective, but it makes you understand something about importance of not overseeing the lives of others, not overseeing the struggles and sacrifices others have made for you. it's very hard as an American at times to remember that, because every time there's a wedding, we forget that someone sacrificed their blood for you to put on that engagement ring in the first place. We forget about that sometimes. We forget that when someone wears a beautiful, luxurious mink or chinchilla around their necks, that someone made a sacrifice for that too. Someone you might never even meet in the first place. So that film helped to give that reawakening to me, and hopefully to everyone else in this room who has not thought about it either once or at all in their life.
Is there one specific story that struck you? I mean, there were so many amazing stories, from good, bad, beautiful, struggle, enlightenment, you know, people feeling melancholy. Is there one specific story that just struck you in your gut, that was like a gut check for you?
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, it may have been one of the Cambodian female speakers who shed her tears and poured her heart on film about the power structures, the powers that be, that neglect those who labor so hard for us to have a rich, resourceful way of living, especially in America. We forget about the sweatshop people. We forget about the farmers. And I think, in my personal opinion, they should be the most paid people. Teachers, farmers, anyone who grows plantations, people who design your fabrics. Not 2 cents an hour. That's just ridiculous.
Let me ask you something. What is it that you do here at home in the United States, here in New York City, in terms of humanitarian efforts? How are you on the ground every day reminding people of how wealthy and how rich this country is, and how we somehow need to be mindful, we need to be careful, we need to give back, we need to have consideration globally of how things are ran and how things are operating?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is show yourself as an example. It starts with you. That's the one thing you have to remember. It starts with you, the individual. My way of showing that example would either be by having a healthy lifestyle, and that means eating well and being mindful of what you put into your body, treating your body, your mind, and spirit as a holy temple. If you can exude that holiness, that holistic behavior, others will notice it. And I think it magnetizes people too, because we all come from that source, whether we know it or forgot about it. Your lifestyle has to reflect on the way you speak. Your speech has to match your actions. That's the first and foremost thing.
So what is your greatest takeaway from this film?
I'm amazed. You know what? There was a point where I had no idea how many languages, dialects spoken in this world. I completely forgot. I used to love geography and history classes, but I never learned all this stuff. I didn't know what Burkina Faso was until a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? So it just really broadened my eyes, man. There's so many different types of faces, people, colors, race, creed, ethnicities, and that makes me realize what love is, what God is all about. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Wonderful chatting with you.
Likewise.
Continue blessings and success. Thank you.
Same to you. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Tanesha Laverne Graham reporting live from the United Nations in New York City, where we have just had the opportunity to screen one of the most beautiful humanitarian effort films I have ever seen in all of my entire life, Human, which is directed by famed French photographer and filmmaker Yann Arthus-Bertrand. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts about the film here tonight, Sherry.
Well, I was very excited. I was excited not only because of the subject matter of the film, as I have 3 children, and one of my most important efforts was to raise them to be real human beings. And they are, in fact, living their lives in a way that exemplifies that, and I'm very grateful. In addition to that, the fact that they were able to go to all over the world and they were able to touch upon so many different cultures, I think that in itself is very important to see what the lines are that are so thin that bind us all together as human beings. And then the cinematography in terms of the landscape of this world, this earth that we live on, was absolutely breathtaking. I think that it's a movie that I would urge everyone to see, whether it's your thing or not. I think it's a movie that we were discussing whether or not it could be broken up into parts. Oh, wow. And I didn't think that it should be broken up, but you know, it's like.
But that's an excellent idea, though, for
and
some not.
Yes.
Not everyone has the capacity, unfortunately, to sit through a 3-hour film. And if you're going to even teach it
Yes.
on a college level or graduate level, you would have to almost do it that way.
So already we've been throwing around ideas of where it could be shown, where it could be shown in part, and how we can present it to different groups of young people, different groups of people, period. Because it for older people, I think that the humanitarian effort, it gives them another level of hope, and they can relate to people that are in other parts of the world that they've never perhaps traveled to. I think that it also stimulates one to want to go to other cultures and countries. And to, if you don't have a passport, get one.
You definitely have to get a
It's
passport.
like, so that you can travel and see these places and understand better what we are here for. And I think that also I was very impressed with what I perceive to be a part of the real theme, and that's of love and the humanitarian effort.
Absolutely. Candace, talk to me a little bit about how you heard about the film.
About her, well, I got an invite, so I came, I read the premise, and I was like, okay, this sounds really great. I love that it's taking place at the UN, like a historic place that's been dealing with these conflicts and these issues for so long. So when I saw it, I was really impressed with the way they dealt with the subjects in general, with like a huge amount of compassion, first of all, a huge amount of understanding, and just seeing people from every single walk of life just completely open up was really, really inspiring in its own way. But yes, as what I was saying to Hannah, I do believe that, for it to hit mainstream, it needs to be segmented in some way, either through social media, through television, something, because it would be a shame for it to just hit like a very liberal political environment and not be exposed to someone else who might be a Donald Trump supporter or something like that. My family's from Haiti, the refugees from Haiti, so there was a big part of that was a very, that affected me very, very much. And I would like for people who possibly support someone like that to see the human side of people who are really just trying to exist and live freely.
Well, there were so many amazing stories, so many layers in the way that Jan told the story. Is there one that I would like to call your gut check? Right. Is there one where you were like, oh my goodness, wow?
Aside from the refugee stories, I would say a lot of it had to do with women in general. There were a lot of issues with women who were either in very obvious abusive environments, or women who lived in some sort of systematic oppression where they didn't realize that they were being abused or that they were being taken for granted until they finally broke out. It was refreshing to see a lot of the happiness and the kind of joy and relief when they got themselves out of situations. I really appreciated that. I just don't think that people understand how systematic it is, from slave work to arranged marriage to polygamy. Like, there's so many issues that actually oppress women. It's quite long, and I'm glad that they took a lot of time to investigate that. So.
Okay, so what is one moment where you felt like, you know what, I'm feeling a level of joy here? Because it was, I don't want to say that the movie was dark, because it wasn't, but it dealt with the harsh realities that so many of our brothers and sisters globally, and even here at home, that we have to deal with on a regular day-to-day basis. I know coming up, I freelance. There are days where I don't have $2.75 for the metro, and that's a big deal. And I'm walking through Grand Central, and everybody is swiping with ease, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even have $2.75 to get on the subway, And as the kids say, that's real, so it becomes very real. So when you're watching this film and you're seeing these moments of joy, what was one of those moments for you?
There's that segment about money, like you were just talking about, that one wealthy guy who said that he just doesn't know how to connect to his son. But then you see someone else who says, like, even the poorest people I know are the most generous. There's something about that that's affirming that you can find abundance in your life no matter what is going on. It's a way to, I think, find your empowerment and your place in this earth, and it has nothing to do with money at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
So, great takeaway from the movie. Like, what's that one takeaway for you?
I think that in the beginning of the movie, when the young man talked about how he was brought up, and unfortunately he was incarcerated, but he spoke to the fact that he didn't understand what love was and what love meant, and because he had been whipped and or beaten by his father as he grew up. That was very touching to me because of the issue revolving around what happened to African Americans when they came to this country, and the fact that we were whipped and abused by the slave masters, and with that whipping and that abusing, they carried it into their family situations as they were allowed to have them, and it's carried on, I think, until present day. And that's something that really has to be explored properly. Where did it start and where does it come from, and how does it affect us now? And so that would be my immediate takeaway. The compassion and the really the harboring back to my own childhood. Where we had to get our switch.
Yeah, you had to get it yourself.
You had to go get it yourself. So those are realities in terms of the way some of us were brought up, depending upon where our families came from. And my family structure is from the South. And so that was a part of how we were brought up, but there was that lady on the front porch that knew where we all were. So, and it's like, and I always say, thank God for my grandmother, because she always gave me a particular kind of adoring love that came from another place of wisdom. So I would have to say that was my takeaway. What is love, and understanding what love is, and understanding what forgiveness is.
I think my greatest takeaway is collective work and responsibility, which is one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
Yes.
I think what we don't realize is we are global,
Yes.
a community.
Yes.
And this film taught me and reminded me.
Of that.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Ladies, thank you so much for your time.
I hope
It's a
you
pleasure
enjoyed
meeting.
talking
I
with
did.
me.
I
It's a pleasure to
did.
meet
I
you.
did. Likewise.
Yeah.